Let's continue polishing the idle animation of our character. We will be focusing on the next portion of this animation, where our character is switching to a sitting pose. Let's have a quick look to the body motion first. I will make a little drawover using Sync Sketch here. When transitioning on frame 28, we can see that the body of our character is moving a little up in a micro anticipation. This is an anticipation, very subtle, that occurs on only one frame. The idea here is not to input that much of energy into the movement, but to give a little contrast to the next move and let the audience know that our character will be sitting. Thanks to the low poly style of our character, it's pretty easy to track its motion. I just want to show you the design of the arc when our character is sitting, but also the spacing. Our character is contacting with the ground, but he will slow down. There will be an ease into the sitting pose so that he doesn't hurt his butt. This arc and spacing does read on the curve. On frame 28, I'm creating the little micro anticipation by just pushing the curve a little up. Then I've created the arc motion using the motion path as usual, and I've created the easing out with our curve flattening in the end of the motion on frame 36 here. Once I'm happy with the main body controller, I always work on the chest. So if we track the shoulder that is directly influenced by the chest motion, I've created a dragging motion, mainly working on the rotation curve of the chest. If you compare the tracking of the blue line with the red line, we can see that we get a nice C shape with the blue line and a nice S shape with the dragging chest. As we use the tip of the nose to track the head motion, you can use the neck controller to track the chest motion. Note that I've hidden the limbs, it makes the readability of the torso way better. When working on the head, before I track my arc, the first thing I've done was to remove this bump on the Z rotation. It didn't fit the current motion of the head, just adding extra noise to the movement. And it doesn't make sense that our character shake his head left to right when switching to this sitting pose. Motion-wise, the head is slightly dragging compared to the torso, but I haven't input that much rotation because I want my character to be in control. If you input too much up and down rotation to the head, it will feel a bit weird, as if the head was very heavy. So we can see that the arc of the head is very close to the arc made by the torso controller. Here we can see the result with the body controller, chest and head polished. I did work on the ears and the nose as in the previous video, working with the straight ahead method, meaning that I'm animating quite on the fly as the animation goes, inputting a very subtle follow-through animation to the ears. And then I did the same with the tip of the nose. Since the sitting motion is pretty slow, pretty subtle, pretty light, whatever, your follow-through animation should be very subtle too. So it's just an extra motion that will give a bit more life to your character. If you're not comfortable with this, it's better not to do it than overdoing it. Before the head turn, I like to add an eye blink. I often use eye blink whenever the character is changing his head stance. Like a big head turn in our case, but also if our character is surprised and pushes his head up very quickly, I like to use the eyes to support this animation. I'm doing the same eye motion on both eyes, and the idea is to have a slight ease in and a slight ease out. Shape-wise, the eye is fully open, then it's closing a bit on the next frame. On the third frame, it's totally closed, and then when reopening, it reopens just a bit, and then on the next frame, it's fully opened. Next step was to animate the tail. In this case, the tail is not used to balance or in reaction to the motion of the character's body. The idea was to create a wiping motion before our character sits, as if he was relaxing his tail before sitting. Think a bit as if you were going on the beach on the sand and you were just wiping your towel before laying onto it. That's exactly what I wanted to communicate here. The final stage was to polish the hands animation or front legs animation. As always, the arcs are the most important thing you have to watch for, so make sure that you draw nice arcs with the motion path. And using the rotation, make the tip of the fingers or the tip of the foot slightly dragging in the motion. You can add a slight overshoot when you reach the top position. Beyond those classics, there are two things you have to watch for. First, avoid the twinning. So, we have broken the twinning in the pose during the blocking, making the left hand going higher than the right hand. But it's better also to break the twinning in the timing, meaning that here my right hand hit its highest point 1 or 2 frames prior than the left hand. Also, the right hand is moving slightly faster than the left hand because the character is pushing with it. So there is an impulsion on the right hand while the left hand that doesn't contact the ground is just continuing the previous motion. So beware of the spacing between the right hand and the left hand. The next video will be a time-lapse of me polishing this whole section of the animation. Just double check the notes that I have highlighted in this video into the next one, and I'll see you in the video after.